How do I help someone dealing with OCD? We're going to be looking at that today. There is a saying that goes like this: you can bring the horse to the water, but you cannot force it to drink. When you are dealing with someone that is struggling with OCD, it's very similar to trying to help an alcoholic to stop drinking or to help an addict to stop taking drugs. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, oftentimes the person struggling with OCD is the last one to recognize that they need help themselves. And what happens is everyone around them can see how desperately they need help. And as a result, they try everything they can to help that person. But oftentimes what they don't realize is, for lack of understanding with OCD, the loved ones are helping the OCD person to get worse and not better by the way they are dealing with it. And even worse, the loved ones are getting worse themselves as they are not protecting themselves from their loved one's OCD and for lack of boundaries oftentimes. So OCD is not really the problem. The problem is how sufferers from OCD deal with OCD. Anxiety ain't the problem. The problem is our unhealthy relationship with anxiety. Intrusive thoughts ain't the problem. The problem is our relationship with intrusive thoughts. Everyone that I know struggles with intrusive thoughts every now and then. We all have thoughts that goes against our values. We all have thoughts that we are ashamed of, that sometimes crosses our minds and gets us surprised by, like, oh my gosh, how could I think of such a thing? But non-OCD sufferers, they watch that thought come and they let it go. They don't attach meaning, they don't give importance to it, and they don't engage in compulsions such as rumination, checking, asking, counting, and so on. They simply let it go. They don't engage. OCD sufferers, they do the very opposite. They give meaning. They start questioning, does that mean I'm a bad person? I must be a bad person if I had a bad thought. And then they seek reassurance because they feel so uncomfortable with the possibility of them being a bad person that they start to seek reassurance to confirm that they are not a bad person. And the problem is they are arguing with the best arguer in the world. Friends, OCD is the doubting disorder. It will make you doubt even your doubts. It will make you doubt every single conclusion you believe you came up with. If you understand that, the answer dealing with OCD is to give it uncertainty. Because you are giving OCD, or you are trying to give OCD 100% certainty. You check, you ask for reassurance, you Google, you do that and so much more, only to come up with a conclusion. And then minutes later or days later, OCD will come back at you even stronger by saying, hey, but what if? Or hey, have you considered this and that? Hey, are you sure you're not a bad person? Hey, are you sure your partner is the right one for you? Hey, are you really sure you didn't touch yourself while your hands were contaminated? Hey, are you sure? But what if? And so on and on and on. So OCD will never, ever, ever accept the certainty that you believe that you came up with. So giving OCD more certainty and acting on compulsions to get to that certainty is the biggest mistake you can ever make. Why am I saying all that? I'm saying that because family members and loved ones of those with OCD have no understanding of what OCD is. And this video is here to help you understand what is OCD and what gets OCD worse and not better. And the problem is, what we believe that will help someone is what is keeping them stuck. And what we believe would keep someone stuck is what's going to set them free. And it's very important for you, family member or loved one of someone with OCD, to make sure that you are helping them and not enabling their disorder. So OCD is an irrational disorder, right? So we have irrational thoughts and we engage with them in irrational ways. We are trying to achieve the certainty that doesn't exist, and we become like dogs trying to chase its tail, never to get it. And what happens is people with OCD, which is famously known as the doubting disorder, are often doubting everything and everyone, including ourselves and our thoughts and our values. So what happens is, so let me say, for example, I think and I'm having a thought that goes against my values, and therefore I'm now attaching meaning to those bad thoughts, and I start to think, hey, if I had such a thought, that means I'm a bad person. Oh my gosh, I'm a bad person. Am I a bad person? And then we go online and we check on Google, am I a bad person because I'm having this and that thought? And then we go to our partners or our friends and our family members and we say, hey, do you think I'm a bad person? Hey, are you sure I'm not a bad person? Hey, do you think I'm a good person? And we started to ruminate and try to convince ourselves as well by saying, no, of course I'm a good person. Remember all these good things you've done in here? And we ask for reassurance and we check online and we try to reassure ourselves. But as soon as we do all that, OCD will come back at us and will say, but what if your loved ones are wrong? What if you are really a bad person? Or you're gonna come to another kind of doubt. And friends, what the problem is, when you as a loved one or a friend of those suffering with OCD are dealing with the suffering of your loved one, you are trying to give them reassurance, believing that you are helping them. You would go to them and say, hey, Raff, of course you're a good person, man. You know, don't you worry. Remember all these good things that you did in here. You're such a loving guy. Like so many people love you. And without realizing, we are keeping that person stuck in OCD. And we don't understand because for us, oh, I'm just offering them encouraging words. And yes, I get it. In a way, you are. If you've done that to anyone else, you would be so good. But doing that to somebody that suffers from the doubting disorder, you are just keeping them stuck in OCD. The answer to OCD is not to give it certainty, but to give it uncertainty. So, Raff, what do I do with my loved one? Every time you see your loved one trying to seek reassurance from you and going to you and saying, hey, are you sure this is not contaminated? Hey, are you sure I'm not a bad person? Hey, are you sure my partner is the right one for me? Hey, are you sure my partner will never cheat on me? Hey, are you sure? And are you sure? And are you sure questions? Your job is to look at your loved one and saying, my brother, my sister, or my son, or my daughter, I understand that you are suffering right now and you are trying to achieve some level of assurance and certainty. But may I remind you that no matter what reassurance I offer you, OCD will always make you doubt anyway. Why don't you try and give OCD some sort of uncertainty? And listen, your loved one suffering from OCD might even get mad at you because you're not giving them what they want. But your job is to remind them that no matter what you offer them, they will doubt it anyway. So don't give them reassurance, give them uncertainty. If they ask you a question, am I a good person or not? Just tell them, hey, maybe, maybe not. Why don't you just sit with the uncertainty? Why don't you just stop engaging with OCD? You know, sit with that anxiety. Don't Google. Don't ask for reassurance. Stop ruminating. And the magic words that helped me and so many thousands and thousands of people that fully recovered from OCD is to say to OCD, yeah, maybe I'm a bad person, maybe I'm not. OCD hates that because OCD wants you to chase that certainty. And what you do is you welcome that thought. When you have a thought or an anxiety, instead of feeling scared and trying to kill that compulsion, to kill the anxiety, is to actually welcome the anxiety. You can even act as if. Something that I did in the beginning of my recovery is I would have these weird, violent or completely against my values intrusive thoughts. And instead of asking for reassurance or acting on a compulsion or another, I would see those thoughts coming my way. I would look at them and I would say, hey, it's so good that you're here. Why don't you take a seat? There is a sofa right there just for you. Listen, you can talk to me all day long. Talk to me as often as you want. But let me tell you something, OCD. I ain't got the time to engage with you today. And that's it. And, oh, Raff, but the thoughts going to keep on coming anyway. They will. And if you keep engaging with them, they will come even stronger. But if you stop engaging with them, they will keep on coming until a point where they get tired and bored of you because you're no longer engaging with it the way that you want. And eventually, friends, trust me, it will go away. But the focus is not acting compulsion so the thoughts stop coming. The aim is to learn how to have a healthy relationship with anxiety and intrusive thoughts. Why? Because everyone has it. Even non-OCD sufferers have intrusive thoughts. They just don't pay as much attention or give or attach as much meaning to it as we do. So your job is to help your loved one dealing with OCD stop seeking the 100% certainty. So if your friends or loved ones are engaging in a ritual or in a cycle of compulsions, such as Googling, asking for reassurance, ruminating, and so on, every time they come at you asking for reassurance, you look at them and say, hey, I hear that you are suffering. I know it's difficult for you, but I just want you to know that because I love you and I want to help you, I'm not going to give OCD what you want. And because of it, I'm not going to give you reassurance. Why don't you sit with the uncertainty? And listen, they might not like that answer, but it's okay because what they like and what they want is keeping them stuck and not getting that better. So if you really love them, you don't want them to get worse, you want them to get better no matter the cost. I know it's not easy, I know it's hard. I know that if you don't offer reassurance, maybe your loved one will come at you again and again and again. And sometimes they can get violent. Sometimes they can get abusive. Sometimes they can look out of control. And your job is to have serious boundaries with your loved one. It's your responsibility and it's your job to tell them what your limits are, what you accept and what you don't accept. And it's their job to respect that, or you've got to take some kinds of action. And listen, sometimes it doesn't matter how much you love them. Sometimes it doesn't matter if they are your wives or your husbands. We have to place strong boundaries with people because love should not accept or tolerate any form of abuse, either mentally or physically. So if you are receiving abuse of your loved one struggling with OCD, place strong boundaries in there and stick to them. In the end of this video, I suggest you to look at the description because in there you can find many places that I can refer you to find further support on learning how to have boundaries with your loved ones. So remember, if you are wanting your loved one to stop doing what they're doing, but if your loved one doesn't yet accept the fact that they even have OCD, or maybe they accept they have OCD, but they don't want really to seek any kind of help, you will not get them there. It has to come from them. Remember the saying that we can bring the horse to the water, but we can't make it drink. So all you can do if your loved one is in denial about their situation is to point out to them that, hey, according to me, it looks like you are living in such an irrational way and that could be OCD affecting you. And I just would like you to know that there is treatment and there is hope and that you can get better from it if you choose to seek treatment. But I wouldn't repeat that every single day. Tell them once, maybe twice, maximum 3 times. But after that point, let it go. Because trust me, as much as you want your loved one to get better, if it doesn't come from them, the chances are they will not get better. So one last example before we finish with today's episode. So for instance, your loved one is struggling with a theme called relationship OCD. So our OCD or relationship OCD is known to have its sufferers constantly doubting their relationships, their romantic relationships, or sometimes even their friendships. They will doubt if their friends are loyal to them or not. They will doubt if their wives or husbands or partners or girlfriends are loyal to them or not. Am I with the right person or not? And they are constantly in this cycle. They're paying attention to how their partners touch their hairs, to see if the way they are touching their hairs is trying to seduct someone else. Or they even pay attention to how they dress all the time, even when the way that their partners dress, there is nothing wrong with it. So OCD sufferers will look for ways and means to doubt if the relationship they are in is the right one or not. So for example, if your loved one is dealing with ROCD, they will come at you and they will ask questions such as, hey mom, what do you think of my partner? Do you think my wife is the right woman for me? Or do you think my fiance is the right woman for me? Or hey mom, do you think my boyfriend is the right one for me? What do you think? And what they are asking you is to reassure them and tell them everything is okay, that you think their partner is loyal, and that you think their partner loves them, and that you think their partner is the right one for them or not. So what they are seeking at that moment is to gain 100% certainty, even though they will doubt it all over again. So if you go and give your loved one what they are asking for, you are not helping them, you are getting them worse. So remember, there is a saying that goes like this: if an OCD sufferer who is untreated is happy with you, you are probably doing something wrong. I'm going to say it again. If an OCD sufferer who is untreated is happy with you, you are probably doing something wrong. You are probably enabling their OCD and not helping them to get better. So stop engaging with your loved one when they are trying to seek reassurance. Don't give them that reassurance. Remember one thing: when the OCD sufferer is untreated, and what I mean by untreated is they are not seeking help, they are not going to exposure response prevention therapy. What they want is not what they need, and what they need is not what they want. So if you give them what they want, you're going to get them worse. But if you don't give them what they want, you're going to help them to get better. So friends, if your loved one is mad at you because you're not reassuring them, you are doing a great job. Hey, but I know it's hard and I know it's not easy for you. So please find the support that you need as someone that has a loved one with OCD issues. Make sure that you are exercising. Make sure that you're having your own time with your friends. Don't let your loved one's OCD block you from living your life. Make sure that you are meeting with your friends, making sure that you are going for dinner with other friends that you have. Make sure that you have a support network, people that you can speak to about it. And make sure that that support network understands OCD, so that person doesn't get both of you in a worse situation as well. So make sure that you are looking after yourself. Don't stop doing the things that are good for you because someone else is struggling with OCD. I hope this episode helped you. If you have any more questions, if you go to the description on this video, you can find my email address as well as many other places that you can go to find further support. But if you have more questions for me, feel free to email me and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Bless you guys.